So welcome back to some more Grand Theft Auto Vice City. In this part, we will be completing the 4 off-road vehicle missions, which are a requirement to complete in order to get your percentage points 100%, and we will begin here with the infamous PCJ Playground mission, which requires you to use a PCJ to collect checkpoints in a certain amount of time. And I think that the difficulty from this mission stems from having to use a bike. In this case, we're obviously using the PCJ, but even if we were using something like the Faggio or the Dirty Sanchez, we'd still have the same problems because of how bikes work in this game. And I've made a note of this in the past, and I'll do it again here, in that it seems like if a pedestrian even sneezes next to Tommy while he's riding his bike, he'll just fly off and take a ton of damage and stuff, but then Tommy over here makes an insane jump and landing and takes no damage whatsoever. He's completely fine. It's just that the game is very inconsistent in how it determines what would cause Tommy to fall off and what doesn't, so it adds this degree of randomness to whatever you're doing that involves using a bike. So that's where the intense amount of annoyingness comes from when doing a mission like this, and some people might just hate having to do these jumps and getting these checkpoints, but I don't mind that as much because I like how in the checkpoints during this mission allow Tommy to collect them even when he's like a foot or two away from them, so you don't have to go directly through the center of these checkpoints to collect them, which is quite nice. Like for that one right there, and there's going to be one coming up here, like right there. You see, we're not going directly through them, we're just kind of going near them, and it still counts as them being collected, so I like that quite a bit. But all this talk about the bikes being terrible reminds me that there is one instance in particular of the bike just being a phenomenal thing, and that's during the mission Al Malloy Wheels of Steel, as I like calling it to myself, that you do for Mitch Baker, because during that mission you have a race that you have to complete, and your competitors, who are other bikers, are using angels that just have these insane attributes in top speed, handling, acceleration. I mean, it's the full package. Anything you would ever want in a bike can be found in those bikes during that mission that your competitors are using, which thankfully you can steal, but unfortunately outside of that mission, those bikes don't retain their attributes, and I love doing the stunt jumps using a bike like that. But anyways, did you see all those hoops we had to jump through in order to get to that rooftop that held our last checkpoint, and one of those chopper checkpoint Sparrows? I mean, that's why I flew on over to the Sparrows that were located on rooftops. Screw doing jumps like that. And the phrase jump through hoops, I just thought about this. It reminds me of the SpongeBob episode where Plankton disguises himself as Mr. Krabs using a robot suit, and it's actually where the line "Ravioli, ravioli, give me the formioli" comes from the same episode. But during that episode, Plankton has to do all these different dances and things like that with SpongeBob, and there's a point during one of those sequences where Plankton actually jumps through hoops in order to satisfy SpongeBob, to where SpongeBob would give him the secret formula of the Krabby Patty. I mean, that's just fantastic stuff, taking a phrase like that very literally. So I love when things like that happen in SpongeBob. But anyways, enough with that. You know, we've actually managed to almost beat Cone Crazy without saying a single thing about it, and I find this mission to be very interesting in a historical capacity, because in the world of speedrunning, which I know isn't everybody's thing, so I will say that I find it to be very interesting, speedruns of Grand Theft Auto games, but back a few years ago, this mission would be a way in which speedrunners would get a lot of money early on in the game to buy assets later on in the game, because the point of speedrunning is obviously to complete whatever they're playing as quickly as possible. So in the case of a Grand Theft Auto game, they want to do as few missions as possible to beat the game, depending on what category they're playing on, but we'll just say they're trying to just complete it with any percentage that they can get to complete the game. So Cone Crazy is a very fast way of getting money, because what they would do, and what you can do at home, I suppose, if you wanted to try this out, is to complete your first time doing this mission with as much time as possible to complete it with. So you see that timer at the top right? Well, a good way of doing this is with the first time of completing this mission, leave 1 second left on the clock, and then you'll get your $200, but your high score, which would be the time you completed the mission with, will be very high. So the second time will be a piece of cake to beat that mission. You can just leave 2 seconds left on the clock that time, and you'll get $400. And then the third time, you can leave 3 seconds left on the clock and get $800. And you just keep doing this over and over again as much as possible until you reach the point in which you can no longer beat your high score. And your money doubles each time you complete the mission, so, and beat your high score, of course. So it'll go from 200, 400, 800, 1600, 3200, 6400, and so on and so forth, into the hundred thousands. I mean, it's just crazy at how much money you can get. And speedrunners would take like 4 minutes or so to, you know, do that process, and they'd just come out with just a ton of money and enough money to buy whatever assets they needed to buy later on that, of course, complement what amount of money they get from doing the missions over the course of the main storyline. So that is Cone Crazy for you, and now we can move on to our third and fourth off-road vehicle missions. And we will begin with Trial by Dirt, which has us using the Sanchez to go around this dirt track to collect checkpoints, and the Landstalker will do the same exact thing, but in the opposite direction of the way that we're going right now. So that's all fun stuff. For the most part, the Landstalker one, it's a bit of a pain in the ass right there, but the Sanchez one right here, it's just so creepy what goes on during this mission, and it doesn't happen in the PC version. In fact, I don't know when else it happens, but I just know it happens here in the original PlayStation 2 version, where the game begins to have rain occur, which, you know, on its own is like, okay, well, I guess they're adding a degree of difficulty, but if you kind of think about what's going on here, these abandoned vehicles activate some type of rain mechanism in the sky, and then you see, like, these creepy lights creeping up on me. You see that right there? You see how they're, like, trying to bite my neck or something? It's just crazy stuff. I was freaking out when I was doing this. And, you know, this is kind of the folly of not having live commentary, because I can't give my, you know, initial reaction to doing these things, but even now it's like kind of creepy still. It's like you get this feeling of someone about to like grab your neck, and you like turn around really quickly and then no one's there. It's like you feel another presence in the room because of this creepy vibe you're getting from something, and it's just very disgusting. It's a disgusting feeling, and, you know, it's just something that you don't really want to experience unless you're a, you know, very sadistic person, I suppose, but I don't know, it's just not something I like. But eventually those light sources that were creeping up on me eventually reveal themselves a bit later on. I'm still waiting for that moment, and this is something that only happens in the PlayStation 2, but there are like these guys on Sanchez. It's right there. That creeped the hell out of me, man. That was just so crazy, just seeing that guy come out of nowhere. Which, by the way, these guys that are now chasing me, which were chasing me from the get-go, it's just, I only saw their lights behind me, not actually them, and there's more of them. They're multiplying, you know? That's crazy, man. Oh, it's just, it still kind of gets me a little bit, in terms of the creepiness vibe. But they're driving unique black Sanchez's, if you're into that, so you can get off your bike and try to steal one. Although it sucks because those guys, those Haitian fellas chasing you, have machetes when they're on foot, so it's just an insane thing. Are these Haitian dudes just kind of chilling nearby, seeing whoever, you know, will hop on that Sanchez, and then they'll attack them and mug them, or, you know, what's going on here? I really don't understand why Haitians come out of nowhere just to attack some guy who's driving around a dirt track. You know, it's just, it's really creepy stuff, and there's probably some fantastic creepypasta type things that people can come up with for this, or for that mission. We've moved on now to this Landstalker variant of the same mission, which thankfully is a bit more upbeat and cheery because it's so sunny out here. And real quick, you can see the exploded shell of my previous attempt's Landstalker, because I did flip it, and I almost flipped it right here too. See, that's the thing about this side mission. You gotta take it very slowly, unless you're just that skilled at going around these corners and stuff. But the edges of the dirt track are very sharp, or at least at some areas, so they're kind of like miniature ramps in a way. And the Landstalker isn't exactly a vehicle that you want going off any slanted or pseudo ramps. So yeah, you can imagine that flipping your vehicle is fairly easy in a place like this, so that's a bit of a shame. That we have to use this damn thing. I'd like to use like a Patriot or something. That'd be awesome, because I'm thinking now of the Grand Theft Auto 3 off-road vehicle missions, where you did have one that you used the Landstalker for the mission A Walk in the Park, I think it was, on Staten Island. And that mission was absolute hell, because just navigating in that Landstalker on that grass was just a huge pain in the ass. I mean, this is nothing compared to that. You know, this is super easy compared to that. It's just, in this mission, you gotta take it slow, and in that mission in Grand Theft Auto 3, you kind of gotta speed it up a bit, even though the Landstalker can't exactly keep up too well with how quickly you want to go. But, you know, in this case, I really don't have much to complain about. I really should just be taking this course a bit slower, because it's not like your time really matters that much. It's a case of you just having to complete the mission, and then any time after that, if you want to pass the mission again, you just have to beat your high score. So that is just fantastic stuff if you're into that. So overall, a fantastic part, if I do say so myself. A very mixed emotion part, which is always nice every once in a while, which the whole creepiness thing doesn't happen too much. I know in Grand Theft Auto 3 you had the mission for King Courtney where you had the suicide bombers attacking you, so that was something right there. But anyways, though, that completes this part. In the next part, we'll be doing the RC vehicle missions, so until then, I will see you next time.